But please believe me when I tell you that the new owners for the LA Haunted Hayride, the company that Play Productions has teamed up with, these guys are no joke. Who are they? Well, they only happen to be the largest Halloween-themed entertainment company in the world. 15 major Halloween events spread throughout our country, and the LA Haunted Hayride is their first event in California. Based out of Denver, Colorado, 13th Floor Entertainment Group. They've produced some of the most mind-blowing and detailed haunted attractions anywhere, and they have hired Play Productions to not only help produce, but to creatively reimagine the Los Angeles Haunted Hayride. So, let's take a moment and take a look at some of the things 13th Floor Entertainment Group has produced, and we'll get to know these guys a little bit better. So, let's go ahead and roll that first video. Well, that's just a small taste. Let's get to know these guys a little bit more. 13th Floor Entertainment Group co-founders, CEO Chris Stafford and Director of Operations Warren Kennard. Please give them a warm Southern California welcome. All right.
How's everyone doing? I'm going to jump right in and say I am completely blown away by the atmosphere at this show and the amount of enthusiasts that are here. It's like nothing I've ever seen. It's pretty amazing, guys. So.
I love it. Welcome to Midsummer streaming, guys. Cool. Well, I would like to allow my friends out here to get to know you guys a little bit, and vice versa, really. So can each of you guys talk a little bit about how long you've been in the industry and how you've really kind of grown up in it?
Yeah, actually, as our company's grown, probably one of the biggest misconceptions about us is that we were business guys that got into haunted houses, and that's actually completely the opposite. Warren and I actually met working at a haunted house when we were 15 years old in Denver, so in one way or another, we've been involved in this business ever since we were teenagers, and that's how we originally met.
I love it. Warren?
Yeah, when Chris and I were young, when we started working at the haunted house, we didn't even know each other. We crossed paths. We came into that haunted house through different channels, and growing up through the 90s, when there were 20 haunted houses in Denver, not only did we work in the haunted houses, we went to every haunted house in Denver every year, and we're enthusiasts, and we go to Monsterpalooza every year. We just enjoy it. And back in the early 2000s, we thought, we want to do this, but on a bigger scale. We want to do something, we want rooms to look like this, and we want these effects to do that. So we, in 2002, we just decided to break away and start our own haunted house company. And we did that, and it's grown every year, and we enjoy it every day. We're fortunate to have jobs, and jobs that we love.
Love it. That was going to be kind of my question on what the genesis of 13th Floor Entertainment Group was. Now, how would you guys define the 13th Floor Entertainment Group mission statement in terms of haunted attraction production and presentation?
I'm going to keep it real simple. We want to build cool shit that people want to see.
I love it. Now, several of your haunts are standalone attractions. Well, you have other events like the LA Haunted Hayride, which I would define more as a screen park, multiple attractions at one location, but not a theme park per se. So let's learn a little bit more about the LA Haunted Hayride and its connections to 13th Floor Entertainment Group and Play Productions. So let's bring out LA Haunted Hayride founder and producer Melissa Carbone and creative director and owner of Plague Productions, Mr. John Cook.
Hi.
Are they here for the free tickets later, or what's happening?
Definitely not here for us.
Hey, Ted.
Hi guys. The LA Haunted Hayride celebrated its 10th anniversary this past season. Melissa, can you talk a little bit about how the LA Haunted Hayride began and how it's really kind of grown throughout the years?
Yeah, absolutely. I know 10 years is kind of unbelievable. Even saying it sounds crazy to me. But yeah, the LA Haunted Hayride started in a super organic way, and people have probably heard me say this a few times, but I was a home haunter, right, in this little soccer mom USA neighborhood in Westwood, California. Didn't know what a home haunter was though, by the way. I just was one. Somebody told me one day, "Oh, I think you're a home haunter." I was like, "What is that? Sounds kind of nerdy, but okay, maybe I'm a home haunter." So I was just creating these big displays in my yard year after year, and they were just getting bigger and bigger until one day I had a bunch of friends. We were having a Halloween party at the same time, and I looked in my front yard, and there were 200 people canoodling in my front yard with drinks, and all the soccer moms had come out. And I was like, "What is this weird Halloween thing? This is so weird. People are into it." And I started doing the research behind it. And at the time, it was a $6.5 billion industry. And the light bulb kind of went off that this was a big town, that was, I thought, underserved at the time for Halloween things to do, because this was in 2008. And I think there were really only 4 things to do. It was Universal Knots, Queen Mary, maybe that was it, Six Flags. But so, being from New England, my favorite thing to do around the Halloween holiday was go on haunted hayrides, which were a huge thing in New England. And they would just pack people lines. You'd wait in line for 2 hours. It was the greatest thing ever. And I always wanted something like that and felt like it was missing, and that could be the thing. Why not in this concrete jungle of LA, take a bunch of Los Angelinos, stick them in the woods at night, and annihilate them, right? Yeah, so, and there we have the hayride.
I love it. That's so cool.
And real quick, I think what's interesting, all of us coming from different avenues towards this event, that's what we all found the value in, is you're stepping out into the woods in the middle of LA, and it feels like you're in a small East Coast town. So that's really where we're all kind of steering this thing towards more and more, is really to lean into that atmosphere.
Totally. And as the LA Haunted Hayride continues to kind of grow and evolve, it connects with companies like 13th Floor Entertainment Group and Play Productions. So, John, can you talk a little bit about how we got involved? How did Play Productions connect with 13th Floor Entertainment Group and this project?
Actually, I'm gonna let Chris kick this one off, because it's kind of been we've both been on each other's radars for so long, and it's kind of all just kind of come together this year.
Yeah, I'd always heard about this mysterious John Cook, this rock star haunted house guy. I was just kind of I don't know about this guy, but
A little shady.
when we when we finally met and we got to sit down and talk, it was interesting. You know, I had been to several attractions that he had been involved in and was talking about things, and I'm like, oh, I really like that. And he's like, yeah, I did that. And then I was like, oh, I really like this other thing. He's like, yeah, that was mine too. And, you know, of course, I'm like, maybe he's full of crap, but let me figure this out. But, you know, after getting to know people that he knows and talk to a lot of people that he's worked with, you know, his background was impeccable and amazing and creative, and we just kind of became friendly and started talking about things. And then Melissa and I were talking about, you know, different directions for the Hayride when we got involved together, and like, what can we do and what's next? And it was really kind of just a natural progression that we were able to get John involved.
And I don't think I've ever shared this, but 2 years ago, when we were going to Transworld, I remember me and my team, we were headed out there, and I was working on my computer, and I just created a file just called 13th Floor. It's like, I don't know what's going to go in it, but one day there's going to be something in there. And we went, and we've always looked up to 13th Floor as this huge company. We've done a lot of traveling through the band. We were able to see a lot of the property, and I was always totally blown away that they're producing these, like, in my opinion, Disney quality attractions out in the Midwest in these warehouses. And that's something that my team, we strive to be able to produce those things as well. So just kind of this really cool coming together to this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'll even take it back a little bit further. And you and I had the same discussion the first time. Melissa and I were introduced through a mutual friend. And I was out in LA, and we sat down and started talking about what it would look like if we brought things together. And it was kind of like you said earlier, we had both been on each other's radars, but forever, but didn't really didn't make the connection. So it's pretty cool to see how it all connected up.
Well, that kind of brings everybody up to date as to how and why we're all up here. So now let's get into some of the juicy details on what people can expect to see at the event this year. You know, we were all very interested in creating a new story driven by character aspects involving interactivity, immersion, and a compelling story that will engage our guests. So how do we do that? We create a town, the town of Midnight Falls. So let's bring up that next video.
You're listening to MFAM Radio Midnight Falls. We are extremely excited you'll be joining us for the annual Halloween Festival. New for 1985, we'll have live entertainment, a hayride, and maybe a few frights, because it's always Halloween here in Midnight Falls.
So Midnight Falls really kind of represents small town USA. Kind of picture upper East Coast, breezy fall weather, chilly autumn nights, the leaves are changing color, a traditional harvest time. But Midnight Falls is celebrating its 13th annual Halloween festival, and you are all invited. But you'll find that things are a little bit off. Because at Midnight Falls, it's always Halloween night. It's always celebrating its 13th annual Halloween festival. And it's always 1985. So just as with any kind of small town, things kind of revolve around the town square, right? And Midnight Falls is no different. This is where the heart of the Halloween festival is taking place, but things are offsetting. Things are weird, frightening, as if everything's caught in a bizarre and horrific episode of The Twilight Zone. And that all spreads out to the surrounding 4 main attractions that we'll get into, because everything at the event ties back to the terrifying secrets and story of Midnight Falls. especially its residents. So John, or all of us, let's talk a little bit about what people can expect when they arrive to the event and what they might expect to experience inside the town square.
So the town square is the epicenter. This is where the celebration is happening. So like Ted was saying, the 4 surrounding attractions all feed back into this town. But at any time you can go out into the town square and celebrate and have fun with our characters. I don't know if anybody's had the chance to interact with our characters. If anybody's here, then we might have had a dance party with a werewolf and a mullet. Anybody? No? No? So the characters there are the different creatures of the town. They represent the different attractions or different establishments that you can find throughout the town. And they're there to immerse you deeper into the story. So one of the things we want to do is to be able to go out, interact with them, and get clues that tie deeper and deeper into this mysterious town.
Exactly, and those roaming characters throughout the town square really kind of represent like the pantheon of gods for small town USA. We've got like the politician, the gossipy PTA soccer mom, the blue collar workers, the entitled football star and the cheerleader and the beauty queen, but these characters will be scary. But for those looking for a deeper experience, can engage these characters and learn about Midnight Falls and maybe about the residents and the town itself and maybe some of its secrets. So those are some of the things that people can experience inside the town square. As we mentioned earlier, there'll be 4 main attractions, 3 walkthroughs, and then the Hayride itself. The first walkthrough attraction we're going to talk about really kind of represents that dark and spooky house at the end of the street, standing there ominous. We know the kind, right? Strange noises are heard coming from inside late at night. The Midnight Falls neighbors are always complaining, wondering what in the heck is going on inside that house. And it does contain very dark secrets in the Midnight Mortuary. Let's talk about the Midnight Mortuary. Well, the idea behind it is it's been owned and operated for 75 years by the Marlowe family, and they're kind of weird, but the residents kind of tolerate them. What the residents don't know are the deep and dark, terrifying secrets deep inside this house, maybe responsible for some of the things going on in Midnight Falls.
Definitely responsible for some of the bodies turning up in their mortuary, right? Yes. But what we wanted to do with these 4 attractions is, since there's only 4, we wanted to make sure they are all vastly in different feel. So this is our standard haunted house attraction where you're walking through. The whole thing's scenic out. We actually brought in a company you might have heard of, Sinister Point, to kind of help us with some of the production into this maze. So they're going to be coming out. We're going to be building an entire maze, ground up, subfloored and everything. And this is our more traditional haunted attraction.
Yeah, exactly. The genesis really was, we were just trying to say, all right, let's try to make it like a haunted house, just a traditional haunted house. But then the deeper we got into the story of Midnight Falls, we're like, okay, let's try to make this fit in, and then nothing's really more macabre than a really evil type of mortuary, right? Late at night, so.
Yeah, if any of you have been by the booth at the entryway of the show, it's funny, if you're listening to the radio announcements out there, the one that cracks me up is about Midnight Mortuary and going shopping there, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah, because within the story at the event, Midnight Mortuary is offering open house tours. So that way people can come and check out what they've got going on, and that's part of the fun in the Halloween festival. So our next walkthrough was really inspired by an attraction featured at the LA Haunted Hayride for several seasons, but now it has the Midnight Falls kind of twist to it. And the visitors attending this attraction will discover that the Midnight Falls residents have a disturbing way of taking in the spirit of Halloween in trick or treat. Melissa, can you talk a little bit about how Trick or Treat really kind of began? Because it really did capture such a fun spirit, the Halloween type of spirit.
It did. That was that suburban soccer mom neighborhood I talked about when I talked about how we started the Hayride. It was this, for me, I loved the way it felt, right? Like I loved being in this neighborhood, and I loved the trick-or-treaters, and I just loved the vibe that was happening in town. So, I mean, probably 5 years after the Hayride started, maybe 6 years, we'd been playing with some other themes there. There was something called the Seven Sins Sideshow one year, and House of the Horsemen. There were some different things that we were playing with. And we were sitting at a roundtable creative team meeting, and I think at one point we were out of ideas, and we couldn't think of something that just grabbed us. And I thought to myself, I think we're just overthinking this. Like, trick or treat. Like, let's let people trick or treat every day, all October long. And so it started there, and then I became like this freight train around, how to create this town around trick or treating, and how we could thematically, make each house different. We could make each inhabitant of the house different. We could create like an ambiance in the town with lots of pumpkins, and really make it feel like something that gave you the essence of Halloween outside of an attraction standpoint, but in the trick-or-treating kind of vein, right? So a Halloween attraction where you actually could trick-or-treat, to me sounded like something that would be fun and would make a lot of sense. And it's been a fan favorite ever since we did it. I don't think we could get rid of it now if we wanted to. So I'm excited to see Johnny's fresh take on it. I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, talk about it.
Yeah, it's going to the Hayride as a fan, I was always blown away that you always see something that you haven't experienced before. And Trick or Treat was always one of those things that was amazing to me. I'm like, how did nobody think of this before? It's so good. So when we decided we wanted to sit down, we put a lot of love into this one. It's a super fun attraction. We're building all brand new houses. They're all themed, and our twist on it is this is the house this is the neighborhood where the monsters live, but they're also celebrating Halloween. So these monsters are dressed up like other monsters. And all their houses are themed to the core monster, but they're decorated like the monster that they're portraying. So it's a really, really fun attraction that really captures the essence of Halloween. And I don't know if we have any home haunters in here. Anybody that does their own home haunt yard display? Well, we're huge fans of all the home haunts out there, so we wanted to pay a little homage where you can go and you're going to enter one of our houses through the garage and go through their home haunt. So super, super fun experience.
Yeah, it's definitely a tribute to our love of the home haunters. Now, on the outskirts of the Midnight Falls town square, there's like this kind of dingy farmhouse, but they are operating a business, and they're in the business of keeping the Midnight Falls highways and local interstate free from deceased vermin in the Roadkill Ranch.
This is where shit gets crazy. So when we went and visited the property, I've only been up there during the Hayride, but we went up and we're like, that's where that dark maze is? That's sketchy up there. So we really leaned into that, where you really feel like you're out in the woods and you're hearing stuff behind you come out of the tree with the shit. So we wanted to create this open air experience where you're guided more through hay bales and corn stalks. There's a lot of walls and scenic work, but we wanted you to feel like you're truly out in the middle of nowhere. And then on top of that, we're unleashing, of course, a bunch of crazy roadkill attendants with chainsaws to be chasing you through the whole thing. So this is definitely like the heavy metal rock show of the entire experience.
Right, so far we've got the Midnight Falls Town Square celebrating the 13th annual Halloween Festival. We've got the dark and spooky house at the end of the street with the Midnight Mortuary. We've got the Midnight Falls neighbors out trick-or-treating, and then we've got the weirdos over at the Roadkill Ranch. So now we're at the main event, the Hayride itself. And of course, Midnight Falls is offering fun hayrides underneath the moonlight and cruise the local foothills and celebrate Halloween. But of course, it's out there in that darkness. It's the epicenter on what's causing the evil in Midnight Falls. And the Hayride experience really kind of begins out in the queuing area. And you're getting a taste of it right now out on the show floor from Midsummer Scream.
Yeah, so if anybody stopped by our booth, you've seen the gas station, as you can see here in our artwork as well. This is one of the actual set pieces that you will find out at the attraction. And this is where you're gonna board onto the Hayride experience where we go to the woods, and what could go wrong, right? But also, we really wanted to really theme it out to really immerse you into the experience you're about to embark on. And we created different little vignettes to really set that up, including the radio station. And each attraction, I don't know if we mentioned this, each attraction you will hear that radio station playing that always ties everything back to centralize it to Midnight Falls. The voice might sound familiar, Ted, right?
Me.
So, you get to go and you get to see the radio broadcast as he's giving his spiel, as well as some other fun vignettes throughout the area to get you ready for your hayride.
Yeah, so the whole idea is what he was saying is pretty much to kind of piggyback off that is there's clues throughout the entire event that will be providing information on what the heck is going on within this town. And so you'll be able to check out all of the radio broadcasts and be able to hear what's going on. And the idea is by the end of the night, after you've gone through all the attractions and spent the time, your evening there, you'll get an idea of what is wrong with Midnight Falls. And so here's some other photos and some behind the scenes work of the gas station. And
when you go out and visit the booth, come by and say hi, of course, but also take a deep look at the scenic work that my team's doing. It's incredible the amount of love and passion and detail that they're putting into these sets.
yeah, absolutely.
Give them all a hand. Where they at?
Where are they?
So everything's being built off site right now because, well, it's Griffith Park. It's a regular park. People are hanging out and taking their kids, having picnics and stuff, so
We can go do some foam chainsaw carving out there, I'm sure, right?
probably.
Yeah. But in this picture, we wanted to show you too some of the scale of the monsters that we're building. We're big fans of monsters and the old '80s monster movies, hence why it's set in the '80s. So we're really going over the top of some of these large monsters that are going to come to life out in the woods.
Yeah, and just to kind of really piggyback off of what Chris was saying before, I mean, it's really important to note that, I mean, even though we're up here making this presentation, we are standing on the shoulders of an incredible team of people that are helping bring this to life. I mean, we've got some of the best people in the business, from carpenters to technicians, prop people, audio people, makeup, wardrobe, on and on, some of the best producers in the business. So a huge shout out and thank you for all of your guys' hard work, because it's really amazing. That pretty much is getting close to what we've got prepared. If we've got any time, I can't really see how much time we've got left. Does anybody have any questions? We can open things up for any questions.